On this channel, we provide useful programming information with practical code examples. This time, we will discuss the best practices for conditional logic in TypeScript. This explains the best practices for writing clear, efficient, and maintainable if statements in TypeScript. Enabling subtitles will make the code descriptions easier to understand. First, let's look at an example of using type guards to narrow types. By leveraging TypeScript's type system and using type guards within if statements, you can improve type safety and readability. Using type of and other type guards ensures that the code within each block is type safe and contextually relevant. Next, let's look at an example of avoiding nested if statements. Deeply nested if statements reduce code readability and maintainability. Instead, use early returns, logical operators, or extract functions. For example, you can improve this code as follows. This approach flattens the code and makes the logic more understandable. Next, let's look at an example of using optional chaining. When checking nested properties, use optional chaining to avoid unnecessary if conditions. For example, you can improve this code as follows. This reduces boilerplate code and improves readability. Here, boilerplate code refers to repetitive, standardized code that is frequently required to accomplish specific tasks in programming. Next, let's look at an example of using strict equality operators. TypeScript supports strict typing, and using strict equality, or strict inequality, not equal equal, helps prevent unexpected type coercion. For example, you can improve this code as follows. Next, let's look at an example of using enums or literal types for explicit conditions. Using enums or literal types clarifies conditions and reduces the chances of errors. By defining expected values, TypeScript can detect types and ensure accuracy. Next, let's look at an example of combining similar conditions. When multiple conditions share the same logic, consolidate them using logical operators or a switch statement. For example, you can improve this code as follows. Alternatively, use a switch statement to handle multiple clear branches. Next, let's look at an example of keeping conditional expressions simple. Complex conditional expressions in if statements reduce readability. Extract them into meaningful variables or functions. For example, you can improve this code as follows. Naming the conditions improves clarity and makes the code self-documenting. Next, let's look at an example of using the ternary operator for simple conditions. For simple conditions, using ternary operators makes the code concise. However, avoid using ternary operators for complex conditions as it reduces readability. Next, let's look at an example of replacing conditional branches with arrays or maps. When the condition is simply a value mapping, using arrays or maps can improve code readability and maintainability compared to switch statements or complex if-else blocks. In TypeScript, you can leverage type information to implement it more safely. By using an array, you can improve this code as follows. You can also improve it like this using a map. By following these best practices, you can make if statements in TypeScript clear, efficient, and maintainable. By using TypeScript features such as type guards, optional chaining, and enums, you can improve code readability and robustness. By following best practices, you can keep conditions concise and clear, resulting in code that is easier to understand and maintain. The source code for this video can be downloaded from the official website. If you like, please visit the URL in the description to aid your learning. I hope this video helps improve your programming life. By subscribing to the channel, we can deliver more useful information to you.